Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spotlight with Sarah and our runoff election special. Today, we have a really great show prepared for you. So we want to thank you so much for joining us today. Your voice and your vote are more important now than ever before, and it is critical that you make your position known in this election process. We are in the middle of an important runoff right now with candidates who are going to be deciding key issues in our lives that affect us directly, our children's education, our jobs, and we want to put the right people in office. And that's why today I have Jackie Callan, and she is the administrator with Bexar County Elections Office with us today. Jackie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. This is terrific.
Well, I'm so excited that you are talking with us because there are so many things that people are concerned about as they are considering heading to the polls. I mean, this is a critical election year, but with the pandemic that we're living through right now, a lot of people are afraid. They don't want to leave their houses if they don't have to. So you've made a lot of changes in the protocol at the polling places, what people can expect, how they can go vote and make sure that they're voting safely. Can you talk about what it's been like? We're in day 4 of early voting in the runoff election. What has it been like for you there at the office?
It's been busy here. I'm so proud of the election officials that are out in the field. They came for training. As the voters are coming in, we're hearing back from the voters that they felt safe when they voted, and they're abiding by the protocols that we have in place. We have 31 sites open, and from the time the voter basically gets to that property, we have the 6 feet, obviously social distancing, all marked. We're abiding by the city and county rule of 10 people in a room. And so as one votes, another one comes in to be qualified. For the election officials and the voter, we've provided large plexiglass screens at the qualifying table. So when they check in, they're not in contact with the election officials. We figured out that we can scan their driver's license through the plexiglass, so that's contact free. Mm-hmm. Come in, we have hand sanitizer to provide, and then they're given their choice of a pencil or a plastic glove to put on, so that as they go through the process from signing in to voting on the unit, they're contact free.
So we have a graphic with some of that information there. If we could put that up, Adam, on what people can expect as they are heading to the polls. If you can pop up that graphic. Also, Jackie, there are other things like you have a minimum amount or maximum amount of people in polling places.
Right. That's the city and rule. That's like of the people. Election officials, them with face masks, face shields, gloves, and they all have their own personal hand sanitizer so that we can keep everyone safe. And the one thing, as you said, we never believed that we'd be running an election during a pandemic. And if anybody had told me years ago that one of the issues or one of the things we had to provide each of the poll sites was a trash can liners. But again, we want to keep everyone safe. So when the voter makes the circle from qualifying to voting to casting their ballot, we'll have a trash can there where they can either deposit the plastic gloves, throw the pencil away, or they can keep it.
So how hard was it to make this all come together, to implement these protocols? Does it cost money?
These cost money. Yes, ma'am, they do. And we were blessed, commissioner support out of the millions of dollars that were awarded to the county. And as they're doing rent and jobs and unemployment, they did a lot, $2.4 million for elections. And for instance, on our plastic screens that we put up to keep everyone safe, you know, those cost $106,000. So we had plenty of time to get organized. What we're really looking at, Sarah, is as the voters are coming out now, we're learning and doing lessons learned on what we can do, because we know that we'll still be in this same position for the November election, which is going to be just the best and biggest election that we've seen in years. And so the election officials are keeping track. Obviously, we're going to do lessons learned. Everyone will fill out a survey, and that's what we'll do for November.
going to the polls, you suggest that they also wear their masks, keep their social distancing, even consider going during off-peak hours so they're not around as many people.
Absolutely. Again, historically, human nature tells us that people come and want to vote the first couple of days of voting, and then it sort of quiets down until we get to the last 2 days of early voting. And what we're obviously recommending is that they have face masks, but we're also recommending, if at all possible, not to bring their children, because we are still going to be using that 10 people in the room. And so it just is safer right now for all concerned.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of really, really great advice, Jackie. We've got a lot coming up in our conversation with Jackie Callanan right here on the Spotlight with Sarah. So don't go away. We have more on the new protocols that voters can expect to find as they head to the polls in early voting for this runoff election. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
You already have all of the tools to become a great storyteller, and that's just your life experience. My name is Carlos Maestas, and I am the author of Mommy Lied to God, a book about storytelling. Whether we are aware of it or not, we are all storytellers. We use storytelling when we are applying for a job, when we're trying to get into a specific school, or when we're trying to ask for a second date. Nonprofits use storytelling to convince donors that they are worthy of an investment and that the work that they're doing is really having an impact. I wrote this book to help people just learn some really practical tools that they can use to become better storytellers. The principles in this book are taken from years of doing stand-up comedy and over 18 years now of working as a chief storysmith at Key Ideas, where we do video storytelling. I really was compelled to write this book because I really feel like that all of us have a story to tell. Our stories are what make us unique, and our stories have the power to influence emotion in a room. And if you can influence emotion in a room, you have a great chance of moving people to action. I had to get this out. I feel like the more people who can learn these tools, the more powerful the impact can be of the work that they do. You can't afford to be the best kept secret.
If ever you don't feel you're special, said, wow, in the 1800s, you have a, that tells you.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Spotlight with Sarah. We are talking to Jackie Callanan, the administrator with the Bexar County Elections Office. And Jackie, you are a busy lady. Can you tell us, we are now in day 4 of the early voting for the runoff election. How busy have you guys been the first couple of days?
It's been really surprisingly steady. We say that we're busy, but we are nice and steady. We've been averaging about 5,000 total votes for the day, and we will see that only ramp up. But we have 31 locations. and early voting ends next Friday. We obviously closed for tomorrow and Saturday for the 4th of July. We'll be opening on Sunday. And the entire we will be open 12 from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. to please polls they're safe, the election officials are prepared, and we're anxious to have this election over. This one's been hanging for a while since it was postponed. And then again, normally in a runoff, we have 5 days of voting, and this one will have 10 days of voting. So it feels a little bit different. But again, I'm just so proud of the election officials.
You guys are doing a great job of keeping everything as orderly as you can. It's just, I can't even imagine how you were able to put together all of these new protocols in such little time to make this happen. But really, I mean, what you do during the runoff election is a test for what's coming in November, because it's going to be a huge year.
Absolutely. And that's what we're looking at this. We're in our own minds, we're calling it lessons learned, so that we'll be able to fine tune a lot of things. And we'll see how it goes, because obviously we're down some polling places. Some places have refused to let us be back in, and we'll have to see how that will work for November.
Now, people have been talking about the mail-in ballots. They still have time if they want to try to do a mail-in ballot to do that, get their paperwork in by July 2nd, by today?
Which is today. We've got a few more hours for them to get it in. It closes 11 days because of the federal holiday being tomorrow. They backed it up till today. So 5 o'clock today, the window will close for mail ballots.
All right. Well, Jackie Callanan, thank you so much for your time and your information on all of the new things that voters can expect as they head to the polls. There were a lot of questions, a lot of concerns, and I think you've cleared up a lot of that for people, so they feel a lot more comfortable to head out and vote and be ready for it, and be proud to cast their ballot. So thank you very much for your time, Jackie.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for this opportunity. And for any of your viewers, if they would like to get involved, please call our office and we could sure use the help. Okay?
All right. Sounds great. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jackie. Well, we have so much more coming up. We're going to be talking in our next segment about public safety and what it means, for example, when groups demand to defund police departments. What does that mean? Also, we're going to talk about the relationship between the community and law enforcement. You know, with all the protests and rioting that just happened, can we repair the relationship between the community and law enforcement? So we have a very special guest coming up in our next segment, so don't go away. We'll be right back with the Spotlight with Sarah.
Down at your hands. If ever you don't feel you're special, if ever you don't feel like you have a purpose, look at your fingerprints. Belongs to Jane. Doesn't happen. What does that tell you? Regardless of lines in your fingers that nobody will ever have again. That tells you that you're special. That tells you that you're unique, and that tells you you have a purpose.
and welcome back everybody to the Spotlight with Sarah. My next guest is a local business owner, and he also runs Willie Ng Family Foundation. And of course, he's going to be telling us a little bit more about the foundation coming up in just a few minutes. But Willie, you also just finished running a hard campaign, a race for sheriff, and developed great momentum and a good following. So, thanks for being with us here today, and thanks for sponsoring the show as well. Can you tell us a little bit about your involvement with the community, as a law enforcement officer, as a community member, and your career in law enforcement, and really what drove you to want to run for office?
Well, thank you for having me, Sarah, and thank you for having this conversation. It's an important conversation that needs to be had. So I was with San Antonio Police Department for 22 years. And 7.5 of those years, I was actually assigned and deputized as an agent with the United States Secret Service Task Force. And I worked there for 7.5 years. And then I retired and worked with the District Attorney's Office as a chief criminal investigator, where I had an opportunity to get out in the community even more than previously and sit down with victims and sit down with individuals that were victimized or have experienced any type of victim in any type of crime. So I learned a lot. In 2003, I started Blue Armor Security Services and to help the workforce, and also be an extension of law enforcement. We can't be everywhere at the same time, so security industry was one way to supplement law enforcement, to kind of be the eyes and ears. So that was the whole purpose of starting the company. No idea that it was going to take off and do so well. We've been in business almost 17 years, and be able to provide jobs for many people within San Antonio, Bexar County, Austin, Houston, Dallas, and Fort Worth. So it's great to be able to do that. But also it allowed me to give back to the community. This is something I've been doing for many years. A lot of people thought that I just started it when I was running for office, but we've been giving scholarships away since 2010, helping nonprofits even way before that, sitting on boards at nonprofits and helping them with their initiatives, helping underprivileged children, education initiatives. Anything that people needed, I was willing to sit on the board to help make that successful. Because if that organization is successful, then the people they're serving will be served and be excellent in service and in the things that they need. That all together was what really drove me to public service and to want to serve on a higher level and have more of an impact. And I felt that running for sheriff was my purpose. I really did. I wasn't a position-driven person. I'm purpose-driven, and I really felt that I could help that agency, and in turn help the community, restoring relationships with the community, as you mentioned earlier. We're having some issues right now with that, the trust. So that was my reason for wanting to run for sheriff. Is that having that business mindset from the private sector, understanding the value of a dollar, and on top of that, understanding law enforcement. From the boots on the ground to the administrative side of being the chief investigator. I felt that I was really prepared for that position, and I was willing to take on that responsibility.
So during the campaign that you had, and even after that, you have been able to share your message about the changes, the reform that needs to take place in law enforcement, at the sheriff's office, improving issues at the jail, and even something that's at the top of mind of a lot of folks these days, the relationship between community and law enforcement. Is that something that can be repaired? Can we bring respect and trust back to law enforcement?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that San Antonio, Bexar County should take the lead on that, because we do have a great relationship with the community despite what's going on national. If you look at Fairfax, they did a survey, and 82% of the people feel safe with law enforcement around here in Bexar County. That speaks volumes. So for those elected officials, we should look at that 82% and build on that. And then 18% that doesn't trust law enforcement as much, and let's find out why. I'm a person, I'm a problem solver. I'm not just one who wants to say, oh yeah, there's an issue. I'm a person who says there's an issue and this is how we fix it. And I think that the problem we have in a lot of law enforcement agencies, even nationwide, is everyone wants to hang out into symptoms of issues instead of finding out the cause of the issue. right? So, and I give this analogy a lot when I was on the campaign trail, and even before when I speak to college kids all the time, try to motivate them to and encourage them to come with what they want to be, and that they can, they put their mind to it. And one of the analogies I give now is that, in 2017, I battled stage 4 cancer. Prior to that diagnosis, though, I kept going to the doctor over and over again and saying, hey, I have this lump on the side of my neck. And they kept dismissing it. They were actually hanging out into the symptoms of things, right? Your blood works fine. Yes, it looks like a fat tissue. I was so persistent. I was the one that was taking the initiative and pushing. I wanted, CT scan after that, ultrasound after that. Then I said, well, I want a biopsy. So we did the biopsy. And then February 3rd of 2017, I get the phone call that you have stage 4 cancer. Well, if I would have listened to the doctors, and if I would have just hung out in the symptoms, cancer would have spread, and I wouldn't be here today. Well, that analogy, it fits every part of our life, whether it's your marriage, whether it's your business, your career, your job. If you hang out in the symptoms of issues and you don't find the cause, whatever that problem is, it's going to grow and grow and spread and spread. It's going to kill your marriage. It's going to kill your business. It's going to kill the organization. And so it's important for us as leaders, as within your family, your business, within your law enforcement agency, to biopsy. It may not be what you want to know. I didn't want to know that I had cancer. Yeah. It may not be, but at least you know what the issue is. And then now let's take the appropriate steps to make and take corrective actions to fix it.
Very, very good advice there, Willie. So come November, whoever's in the sheriff's office, Sheriff Salazar, what do they have to tackle first? What are the issues that you were talking about your platform? What do you think is important to tackle first come November?
Well, look, in any organization, when you have problems, I'm a co-founder, the vice president of Maestro Center. What that is, it's a small business incubator on the west side, the heart of the west side of San Antonio. And we bring in small businesses and we sit down with them and we say, what are the issues? Let me see your business plan. Let me talk to your employees. Let me look at your financials. Let me look at your marketing. And we go from the bottom of their company all the way to the top. And we find out, what are the issues? It may be the management. It may be the owner. It may be policies or lack of policies. Maybe the boots on the ground, lack of trust, and why. Again, it's causing this. Whoever wins and starts January of 2021, they really need to go and start talking to the boots on the ground and work their way up to figure out how to fix the issues. The problem you have with a lot of administrators and leaders, just because they have the title, they think that they know it all. And you can't have that, especially in law enforcement, because the person who just came on that department, who may have been patrolling for only 2 months, may have already experienced something the administration has never experienced before. And they can actually learn from a 2-month patrolman or a 2-month deputy. So whoever wins really needs to work from the bottom up. Because as I always said, the troops are far more important than administrators. The administrators just have a big responsibility. And that responsibility is to take care of their troops, to make sure they have all the tools necessary to fulfill their purpose in an excellent way. And if they do that, then guess who reaps from that? The community. Because if we have the best law enforcement in Texas or best law enforcement in the nation, our community is going to benefit from that. Because as I said, and you can look it up yourself, if you look at the zip codes with high crime, there's no prosperity, high school dropouts, high teen pregnancy, no revitalization, no workforce development. So if we as a county and as a city can really sit down and work from the ground up, we can really fix these agencies. Because the reality is this: you have 10 administrators, and we're just talking about the sheriff's department, for example, you have 10 administrators. If all of them left one day, the troops on the ground will continue to work. They'll continue to make their phone calls that they're dispatched to. They'll continue to investigate the crimes that are coming across their desk. But if all 2,000 or 1,800 members left, those 10 administrators could not sustain the public safety that we need in our county. So that tells you that the boots on the ground, those guys doing the work, are far more important than administrators. And as a leader, you need to understand that. And as a leader, you need to have self-awareness, because self-awareness helps you identify your strengths and self-awareness helps you identify your weaknesses. If you don't have a self-awareness, then you don't understand, you don't identify your weaknesses, you think you know it all, and that's where you fail.
Well, definitely the sheriff has his work cut out for him after the November election. A lot to be done. A lot of the sub problems that we've had really for the past few decades are kind of still there. So he's got a lot on his plate.
Yes,
He will have a lot on his plate.
Yes.
Willie, thank you very much. We want to take a little break right now, but we have a lot more coming up on the Spotlight with Sarah. So don't go away. We have a lot more with Willie Ng when we come back.
In law enforcement, we have never ran a set of fingerprints. Your creator is ever have again. That tells you that you're special. That tells you that you're unique. And that tells you you have a purpose.
You already have all of the tools to become a great storyteller, and that's just your life experience. My name is Carlos Maestas, and I am the author of Mommy Lied to God, a book about storytelling. Whether we are aware of it or not, we are all storytellers. We use storytelling when we are applying for a job, when we're trying to get into a specific school, or when we're trying to ask for a second date. Nonprofits use storytelling to convince donors that they are worthy of an investment and that the work that they're doing is really having an impact. I wrote this book to help people just learn some really practical tools that they can use to become better storytellers. The principles in this book are taken from years of doing stand-up comedy and over 18 years now of working as a chief storysmith at Key Ideas, where we do video storytelling. This book really pulls from my experience of interviewing over 1,000 people from all walks of life. I really was compelled to write this book because I really feel like that all of us have a story to tell. Our stories are what make us unique. And our stories have the power to influence emotion in a room. And if you can influence emotion in a room, you have a great chance of moving people to action. I had to get this out. I feel like the more people who can learn these tools, the more powerful the impact can be of the work that they do. You can't afford to be the best kept secret.
And welcome back to the Spotlight with Sarah. We are live here with Willie Ng. He is the founder of the Willie Ng Family Foundation organization. And Willie, thank you so much. Tell us a little bit about the foundation and what it does and how it came to be.
Well, Sarah, as I mentioned in the first part of the segment, I battled cancer in 2017, and I've always been a person who has looked at a bad situation or what we perceive to be bad and find out, what can we do good from this? What can we learn from this? And so when I was sitting, I remember sitting in the sofa in the living room, and there was a period where 5 weeks I couldn't eat anything because my esophagus from the radiation and chemo was so swollen, and it would go down. I couldn't drink. I was in and out of the hospital every other day to get fluids to keep the organs working. And I remember thinking, what can I learn from this, and what can I do to give back and to help people that are going through what I'm going through? So at that moment, it was sitting in the sofa, and my wife and I put pen to the paper, and we started to establish this foundation. And we want to help people. We understand the stress. Number one, stress is not good when you're battling something like cancer. And stress is to be said that it is said to be something that causes cancer to be worse or develop. And I understand that when someone who has to go through treatment and they can't work, the bills still come in. The car payment, the mortgage, that doesn't go away just because you're fighting for your life. So we established this foundation to help people that way. If we can make a car payment to release that stress, if we can make a mortgage payment, even if it's to buy groceries, trips to and from chemo if you don't have transportation, you're a single mother or single parent or someone who lives alone. And also a phone call. I had several cancer patients in the middle of the night that will text me and say, I need to talk, or they'll call me and say, can we talk? This is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm going through. And it's good to hear words of encouragement from someone who has gone through that, who's gone through that number that nobody wants to hear, the stage 4, and to plant the seed of hope in people and encourage them and motivate them that they can beat this. But we do so much more. Like I said, since 2010, we've been giving scholarships away from the business. And then once we got the foundation going, we started giving the scholarships through the foundation. Animal care, I'm an animal lover. We've gone to several emergency rooms, and if someone needs some type of medical attention, but they can't pay for it, instead of putting the cat or dog down, we will jump in and pay for the medical procedure or whatever needs to be done. And also foster care for animals and elderly, if they need heater during the wintertime, AC during summertime, groceries. Especially during this COVID, we've had some family members who can't leave. They don't have transportation, number one, and they have their elderly mother or father. They can't leave alone, and they're high risk, so that they don't take them with them on a bus to get to the store. So we will, purchase things that they need and transport them to them.
So a lot of good work done through the foundation. A lot of people benefit from it, pets as well. So thank you for putting that all together and helping people the way you're doing with the foundation, Willie. It's really some great work. Now, if you want to find out more about the foundation and perhaps donate or get involved, you can go to their Facebook page, and it's under the Willie Ng Family Foundation. You can find it there, and that's their logo. So that's how you'll find it on Facebook. You can find out more about them, what they're doing, and donate if you want to contribute to what they are doing for our community. So, Willie, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Today. It's been great to have you and to hear your thoughts on a lot of the different issues in public safety and law enforcement reform this morning.
Yes, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And just before we came back on, you saw a commercial about a book that was written by Carlos Maestas, Mommy Lied to God. And Carlos is a really incredible person. He is a storyteller. So basically, he creates videos to tell the story for nonprofits. And that's how he helps nonprofits reach their goals and help as many people in the community and be successful at that as they can. So Carlos is very interesting. He's written a book about it, written a book to teach others too how to tell stories, be a better storyteller. So we're going to be talking to him on Monday and bring you more about his book, some of his videos, see what he's doing in the community to make San Antonio really, we have the biggest heart of all. So He really knows how to make San Antonio, how to bring out the best in San Antonio in both giving to nonprofits and being nonprofits. So we're going to hear from him on Monday on the Spotlight with Sarah at 11:30 a.m. So be sure to tune in that day. And we want to thank you for joining us on this runoff election special today. So remember, if you don't have time to get out to vote today, which you still do to this evening, you can have all next week, Monday through Friday, to get your early vote in so you can get it out of the way and get your vote in, your vote cast, your voice heard. Thank you so much for watching the Spotlight with Sarah.